Hey, everybody, and welcome. I'm Janice,
Hey, I'm Anne Marie.
and we are here again with our snackables.
I
Our
love it.
snackables are bite-sized tips packed in a snack. So we're here to give you a lot of information in a small amount of time because we know that your time is valuable. So, what's going on with you, Anne Marie?
You know what, Janice? I am glad that we're going to have this conversation because I've been thinking about what we should talk about. And I had recently written an article about all of the layoffs that are happening, that continue to happen, that feel like now it's just a part of every day that somebody or some group or someone's being impacted. And I think it'd be great for us to have this conversation with our listeners because either they've been impacted or my focus was around the people who did not get impacted directly but are left behind
Mm-hmm.
while they're watching those who they care about, those who they've worked with, um, go and find something new to do. And so that's been the thing that's been on my mind is we can call it survivor's remorse. Like, what about the people who are left behind? And it's not to take away from the people impacted. We know that their lives, their families' lives are changing, probably in an unexpected way.
Yeah,
But for those who have been left behind to kind of reconcile with, am I next? Why them versus me?
right.
Uh, and putting your all into the work, that's a challenging space to be in, to be the most effective high performer while you're watching. It almost feels like the house is kind of on fire,
Yes.
you
That's
know?
that's what it feels like when you're left behind, and how disheartening it is when, again, being in the C-suite, we're not necessarily out in the trenches with everyone so
Right.
much. So a lot of times these things are happening. Just so you know, it's not always a situation where the leader's talking about who's going to get riffed or who's going to get laid off. Sometimes the leaders get a sheet and they work with their specific chief of staff, yourself, and you just see a bunch of names. It's
Yeah.
just a sea of names, and you may know some people on that list, but there's so many names,
Mhm.
you don't even see the people that you may know. And
Mhm.
so then after, of course, these get announced, then you get all the phone calls, you get all the messages, hey, I was impacted, if you know of anything, let you keep me in mind.
Mhm.
And it's the most disheartening feeling because you're like, oh my gosh, I made it. And this person who I know is a great worker, who's a great colleague, didn't. And what makes them different than me,
Yeah. Well,
right?
I think that's something that, you know, I think people want some insight into. Back in the day, it was looking at a list of people and you knew some of those names.
Hmm.
Today, it is quite literally a list of individuals, and some of the humanity has left because of the way that we have to approach it. And so you don't know.
Right.
And I don't know if I think that's a good or a bad thing,
Right.
but
Right.
you don't know. You're just like, here's the list of, and I'm gonna throw a number out, 30 people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I might know two people on that list.
Right.
Where in the past it might have been, well, we're looking at these five individuals and I know them all by name and I know what they're capable of, and now I have to make a decision.
Hmm.
And the fact that it happens often and rapidly,
Right.
you don't want to lose your soul or your humanity in the process.
Right.
But a little bit of you always, a little bit of me always dies.
Yeah.
Because
I
like you said,
agree.
why them versus me? Am I next?
Right. No, that's the one, right? Okay, can we talk about this?
Mm-hmm.
My next, because let me tell you, just being in the C-suite doesn't make you exempt,
No, it's a
especially when there's a stock dollar associated with it.
uh-huh.
Okay, you're a number.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked in the C-suite and I work in the C-suite and I've had a couple of people impacted in my work. I know been people impacted in our CEO's office as well. So it doesn't just stop.
Right.
certain level. It continues to happen even in, the highest of offices.
Yeah.
And it is so, when you say like, am I next?
Hmm.
I think I've kind of processed that a little bit differently where I'm like, okay, well, it didn't happen now, but it's going to happen at some point, right? So what can I do to prepare for
I, girl, I've had conversations with my husband and I tell him, look, the day may come.
it?
Just make sure that we've shored up everything that we could have as much as possible.
Hmm.
I'm not so bold to think that my name wouldn't show up on a list.
No, no,
And,
you
and I
you
think there's
can't be. Not
and I think
nowadays.
people who feel like that. They show up to work and they may have been top performers, but you never know at what point on that spreadsheet do you fall above or below that line.
Yeah, yeah,
And it's personal and it's not personal.
yeah.
It's personal because it's affecting your life. It's not personal because the
It-
people who are doing it may not know who you are. Like it's
yeah.
just
It's a dollar.
ugh,
It's a dollar. And that sounds so crass and that sounds so inhumane.
yeah.
That's what it is. It's a dollar. And as long as, and I can get on my political soapbox of like, as long as we embrace capitalism, this is going to always be the
Yeah.
case.
Hmm.
It is what it is. That's not a indictment to capitalism, and that's not a endorsement of it
Right.
either. It's just
The
the
product.
fact of what it is. So that's
Yeah.
where we live in. We live in a capitalist society, and therefore we are subject to potentially being a casualty of
Hmm.
capitalism.
Yeah.
And there's so many things happening, and I think what makes it harder is you don't know the why.
Right. It's not, and I think we hear rumblings of this is this is why we're doing what we're doing.
Hmm.
So the uniqueness about being in the C-suite, working with executives, is that we do have to um, follow the theme. Like we have to be able to connect those dots. Everybody may not be able to, but we be able to. And when you struggle being able to connect the dots, then the why becomes really important. And when you can't reconcile what the why is,
Right.
it's hard. And so, I think one of the things for those of you who are joined in on this call, what we want to share with you is a couple of ways for you to navigate, just to deal with the reality of the situation today. Because if you are that person who you were privy to what was happening, or you're on a team that was five and now it's two people, I think it was a couple months ago that you talked about self-care.
Yes.
I
Yes.
think it's so much more important now. And it's not self-care because you don't take care of yourself, but now you have to heal. You have to figure out how do I show up every day? I don't know if I can give 100.
Hmm.
And that's a reality that
Hmm.
corporations have to deal with is people may not be showing up and giving 100 anymore because they are just scared. So how do you show up and do the job that you're skilled at doing,
Hmm.
but still take care of yourself? That's so hard.
It's very hard. And they have this whole mantra of doing more with less, which I have my opinions about what that even means because under the guise of self-care, you're not caring for yourself when you're overloaded like that. So you have to kind of literally put boundaries in place. But I understand that it's hard because
Mhm.
okay, if I put too many boundaries in place or if I do too much of this, am I going to be next?
Mhm.
And because again, we don't know what makes you the target. We don't know why they chose you versus me versus somebody else. And so it's a moving target. You just literally don't know what's safe and what isn't. And I just kind of think, it's disingenuous even for leaders.
Mhm.
Tell people, just stay focused. Just stay focused on the mission. That I want to say kiss my ass.
Mhm.
Because you know You stay focused on making sure I'm employed and you keep that check coming in, sir. You know, because it's just very difficult to
Yeah.
stay focused when you literally have to watch your back.
Yes.
Literally the opposite of focus. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when, you are doing everything that they're saying to do, you are trying to work towards the mission, but
Still,
you
we're
still
still.
human beings. We're
Yeah.
not machines. And you can't, there's no algorithm in my head that's going to tell me, okay, just keep tunnel vision on this. But,
And you go fine.
right. And then come Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever day they decide that they're going to do massive layoffs, that you're going to be one of them because you
Yeah.
don't know. And then they like trick you now, like the meeting invites are even, different than they used to be. It used to be like business meeting or all these things. And these people are like, I just got this message that told me they were wanted to talk about my, project, or they want to talk about this. And it's not that. It's about something completely different. So I just say you gotta prepare.
You do.
And I think that we should never get into a place of comfortability when
Yeah.
it comes to thinking that, oh, well, I support this person and I'm secure. Because bottom line is, if they decide they want to chuck that person, they're going to get the golden parachute. You are not.
Yeah.
And you'll get a severance package more than likely, but not
Mhm.
always. But it ain't gonna be to the tune of what that person can do, and that person can probably stand to not work for a couple of years or for the rest of their life and be okay. Whereas we can't necessarily. And so you have to constantly, keep your guard up in a way so that
Yeah.
you know that when or if it does hit you, it's not going to break you.
Right. Right. Well, and I think something that I had been told years ago, which I've always done, is keep your resume updated. So if
Hmm.
you've fallen behind in doing that, it should always be updated. And then you've got to ask yourself, being proactive, what is it that I can do? Because some people want to be gainfully employed by a business, and
Yeah.
that's completely fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
Hmm.
And so if you choose to stay with your current employer, what are the potential other opportunities should something happen? If you decide you want to go someplace else, are you doing some due diligence to make sure that you have other options, especially now when there's so many people that are applying for the same jobs? Um, in another case, you've got individuals who they've got their own business. Is that an opportunity for you to lean into your own business fully?
Yeah.
What are the skills that you have that potentially could help you, live the lifestyle that you want to live, or at least maintain the lifestyle that you're living, or maybe you want a different type of a life and you want to change some things up. And so being so proactive about what is it that is important to me,
Hmm.
what are the things that I want to be doing in my employment, whether it's for an employer or I want to be self-employed,
Right.
and are those things accessible, and spending time cultivating those skills and building that network, doing the research so you're not caught unawares. Because, like you said, it doesn't matter where you sit on that C suite. Again, I've been a chief of staff for a long time, and I've literally had conversations with my husband. I'm like, there might be one day where I theoretically come home. I work from my
Yeah.
home, but
Yeah.
I come home and I may tell you I was on a list.
Yeah.
I'm out, and just preparing mentally for what that is. And you can never fully prepare unless you've been laid off.
No.
Just preparing mentally for what is that going to look like.
Right.
And if that happens, now what are the levers that I'm pulling that says, all right, this went down, so I'm taking care of this, or I'm talking to that person. I told him, I said, if everything goes south, if it all doesn't work, I'm lucky enough. I'm like, we can always live with my mom. I don't want to. She likes her space. I like, but at the end of the day, I'm like, if everything goes south, if everything that we've prepared for doesn't come to fruition, if everything, like, that is an option.
Hmm. Hmm.
One of the last options I would exercise. So, what are the options that we all have out there if we have community and we're building community and networks?
Yeah.
So, It's not a surprise.
Yeah, yeah, and I think leaning into what your talents are outside of work is super important,
Hmm.
more important than it's ever been. And, a lot of times we associate, working for ourselves with wealth. You're not going to be wealthy, but you're going to maybe be exactly where you are, or, might have to cut a few things. Like,
Hmm.
don't know. But you
Hmm.
got to mentally prepare yourself for it, because not doing that, I think, will be true devastation. Like
Yeah,
it'll knock you out. And I think that we should, in this climate, be very realistic. There's no one that's saying that it's not going to continue to happen. So
correct.
if you think that it's not going to happen, then you're not paying attention.
Right.
And we're in good places and in good standing, but it doesn't matter anymore whether or not you're a top performing worker or you do all these things. There's lots of people who were well performing, but do you have what they want?
Uh-huh.
And I am talented, I have skills, I do a lot of great things, but I may not have what they want anymore.
Yeah.
No, you can't tell me a lot of the folks that are our former colleagues didn't, they were good at what they did, but they didn't have what the company wanted anymore. And so it's like, if you decide you want to stay working for a large conglomerate company, you need to figure out if you have what they want.
Yeah.
And you need to, hone those skills and really find things that support that. I think for me, if it were to happen, I don't want to work for a conglomerate anymore. I would probably lean in more back on my coaching and really going the path of trying to support people who do still sit in that space and
Mhm.
be able to, give them some great um, direction and support in helping them figure out what is their purpose in that space.
Yeah.
But I don't think that I want to sit in it anymore. I've been in it now almost literally almost I've been at the company for 24 years, but I've been in corporate for well almost 30 years. And
Mhm.
I'm just yeah, I'm just kind of over it. I just kind of want to do what I want to take the easy way out as I get older.
I don't know if I think that's the easy way out. Because you work very, very hard. I think it's one of the logical ways out.
It's easy because it's easier than what I'm doing right
Right.
now.
No, 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 I hear you. I hear you because that I think that's one of the reasons I know that's one of the reasons why we gel so well is because the same thing for me. I have been in the corporate space for over 20, 30 years. And I have been lucky that I have a business that I can lean into a little bit more and it's starting to grow.
Mhm.
And right now the corporate scene it's overwhelming
Right.
for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Where we sit is always going to be overwhelming.
Yeah. Yeah.
Always, always, always. It's just a byproduct of where we're sitting in the organization and the jobs that you and I do. But it's
Mhm.
right now overwhelming for some of the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
And it's very challenging. And if when it happens, I don't want to be thinking in those veins. I don't want to be thinking the if and the when it happens. I
Mhm.
want there to be some level of security, and that's just not there for anybody that works for large organizations.
Mhm.
This season of my life that I'm in, I'm like, I don't know if this is where I necessarily want to stay and be.
Yeah.
Maybe I do lean into my skills, my coaching business, the things that I'm doing, and adjust my life to meet that. Um, because the unfortunate thing is at least with the large organizations, you can't really count on them like you used to anymore.
You can't. You can't. It's not what it used to be. But that's what evolution is about, right? Things change and that's what progress is. And I think we're getting pushed into a place where we as individuals have to learn how to progress on our own. outside
Mhm.
of the backup or the backing of these big corporate
Mhm.
giants. You
Mhm.
know, that we're in a space where they're trying to create more workers.
Mhm.
And I believe that we need to, as two smart women, have to push against that because I'm not going to be anyone's worker bee. I'm going to work for me. Right now, I'm in a contract with my company that allows me to provide them my services in exchange for a paycheck.
Mhm.
And
Right.
that is how I'm beginning to look at it so that I can disengage and detach should the time come.
Yes. Yeah. I like that you said that too. You've entered into a contract with an organization, so you give me this and I give you that. And if that needs to change, that actually takes the emotion out of it. And you're like, okay, maybe that needs to change. I hope that they don't preempt the change. And if
Right,
they are preempting the change, I need to make sure that I'm ready and I'm taking care of my stuff. And so then the responsibility doesn't fall on them anymore. Now it's like, I just need to make sure that I've got my stuff together. And if I don't have my stuff together,
right.
then I'm too comfortable.
Yep,
And if I got too comfortable, I need to rethink that and say, well, let me be comfortable in my space. And again, this we have a contract together.
right.
And it'd be great if we determined jointly when that ends.
Mm-hmm,
But
mm-hmm.
I cannot have that. And so if they make that determination before I'm ready, I have my stuff together. If I'm in a place where I can make the determination, then that's a great thing. And I think a lot of people are falling into the situation where their contracts are being terminated
Yeah.
before they anticipated. Ugh.
Yeah, and again, with part as part of the evolution, like we have boomer parents, right? So we grew up with parents that were working for the same company for 150 years. And I wouldn't say that they necessarily had an emotional connection to the business, but they had this loyalty to a business that was somewhat loyal to them back in the day. But then as time has progressed, companies are no longer loyal to their employees. And now we're in this state where we cannot be loyal to these folks who are not loyal to us. And we have to stop putting our emotional
Yeah.
deposits into a business that's not an emotional, it's not an emotional business. Because then that just makes any cuts, any layoffs, anything like that just much more painful and harder.
Yeah.
And And I think sometimes people tie their emotional investment in their work as their work ethic.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Not the same.
Nope.
Your work ethic is a part of who you are, how you show up. And it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't require an emotional investment to somebody else.
Sure.
It's a principle you stand for yourself. It's a value that you have for yourself. And you have to say, like, wherever I show up, because I won't like the way I am, I
Mhm.
won't ever show up in this space slipping, you know,
Right.
doing less than what I'm supposed to do or
Right.
what is expected of me. But some people feel like that's an emotional deposit versus a work ethic. And we have to stop thinking that because I work so hard and I'm such a good worker, that they care.
Yeah.
All they
Yeah.
want is the outcome.
Yeah.
And so don't
It's
put so much emotional investment into your work that you
do the work. Yeah. Yeah. But keep your emotions at bay. Uh,
Mhm.
so everyone, as Janice and I get ready to wrap this up, we know that this was a much more somber conversation than the ones that we've had, but that's because again, we want to provide you with information that's relevant to what's going on today. Provide you, like she said, a snackable. We want to give you these tips for you to be able to figure out how you're going to navigate today and sharing what we do for ourselves and hopefully You were able to get something from the words that she shared. I did. I love the thing about being mindful of not tying my emotions to my work ethic, and that this is a contract. And if I think in those terms, should something happen, it's not going to make it easier, but it gets me thinking proactively about what am I doing to safeguard myself and my family,
Hmm.
so I can, make the step into what is next for me. And so think about what are your skills, what are the things that you want to invest in yourself, how do you want to potentially make this change, whether you preempt it or if um, it's preempted by your employer. And then ask yourself, do I want to work for a corporation? Do I want to work for myself? And depending on whatever path you take, you might even want to just take a break. If
Right,
something like I'm taking a year off, I'm not doing anything. And if you're in a position where you can do something like that, wonderful. But proactively look at what is your next 3 months. What is like create your 30, 60, 90-day plan. Create
right,
a 120-day plan with these are the things that potentially could happen. And then just keep preparing yourself. So those are the last closing remarks that I would share. Janice, you've been dropping nuggets. Anything else that you want to share with anybody?
I just think sit down and really think about what you want to do and think about 1 month, 2 month, 3 months out. What is it that you would do if your company said, hey, thank you for your service? And I would say grieve
Mm, yeah,
and then put your plan in place.
yeah,
And don't look back and don't feel bad and don't feel unloyal, don't feel, or I'm
okay,
sorry, disloyal.
yeah,
Um, don't feel any of those things because again, it's a contract. It's a
yeah,
transaction between the two of you. And it may not have felt that. It may have been the longest transaction of your life. I could say
yeah,
for me, 24 years, right? But the fact of the matter is that's a contract. It's a
mhm,
transaction that's happened for as long as it's happened. And so you need to protect you.
yeah,
You need to surround yourself with people who can help uplift you and
mhm,
keep you motivated, help you aspire to the great things that you are meant to do for yourself, and work the plan,
yeah,
and like you said, keep that resume updated. And I'm guilty. I did it because I just like why what and I regretting it, and I'm just going to tell you that right now. I'm regretting it not because I need to use it right now, but I feel like, oh my gosh, there's so much experience that
yeah,
I haven't captured.
yeah,
And now I got to try to go back and remember all these things that I did that are relevant to my career and to my experience. And
yeah,
I think that it's important that
yeah,
stay up to date to that. And so like I'm preaching to the choir when I tell you that. However, it is important to do. And so, like I said, grieve
yes,
first,
yep,
because you'd be surprised when you grieve, people don't do that enough in certain situations. And so, you should definitely do that so that you can move on and make your plan.
yes, yeah. And if you find that you are struggling with grieving, find a friend and say, I can't get this out. I need to be with you. Can we go for like whatever? But find somebody in your network who has the ability to empathize, and they can let you feel all the feelings.
Right.
And if you feel like you struggle, say I'm not feeling anything, and they're just there for you until you're able to emote, because it'll come. It will come, especially if you're trying to make space for it so it can have a voice and then you can move past it. So,
Right.
um,
Yeah.
and Marie, thank you so much for joining us.
And I'm Janice, and we are Chief and Assist, and we want to thank you for spending the time with us.
Absolutely.
All right. Goodbye.
Bye.